Om Vakradunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayana Namaha. Om Shri Lakshmi Narayana Namaha. Om Shri Radha Krishna Namaha. Om Shri Uma Maheshwara Swami Namo Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namosute. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on the Guru Stotram verse. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Guru Reva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So along those lines, on a daily basis, we are attempting to examine in this series, what is the Atma? The Atma is ourself. It is the actual reality of who we are. That is the question of identity. In psychology and in philosophy, as well as in neuroscience, this question of identity comes up quite a bit. Who am I? Is my identity consistent? So for example, when we are 5 years old, our sense of self is developing. Then that grows and changes into adolescence, then into young adulthood, etc., into old age. The psychological me evolves and changes. But the spiritual me, the consciousness that I am, does not evolve and change. It is the same reality. It is consistent, but it is Chaitanya. It is not a physical object. It is a metaphysical entity. It is a spiritual being. That is the Atma. So this is the discovery. So along those lines, in this verse number 20, we have been looking at this now for the last 3 or 4 days, and we'll move to the next one in just a moment here. But just to recap the basic notion that which is real is beyond the phenomenal world. The phenomenal world is what is known through our senses. The phenomenal world is mithya in that sense. It is coming and going, coming and going. It doesn't have actual eternal existence. That's the point. And we talked about this quite a bit already last 3 or 4 days. And then the 4 sadhanas to keep in mind. So remember, we should try to memorize this if we can. The whole scripture is based on these 4 sadhanas and many other ideas related to that. That Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, first one. The second one is Amruta Phalabhoga Viragaha. That's the second one. The third one is Shamadhi Shataka Sampattihi. The 6 great qualifications that we'll be talking about pretty soon. And then Mumukshutvam, that's the 4th one. So if we can remember these, memorize these. It's good to memorize as much as possible because that is good for mananam. For our contemplation, the more we have scriptural or ideas from great sages in our mind, the better off we are. In Gujarati, it is called mukpat. I think maybe Hindi has the same meaning. I'm not sure exactly. So certain ideas should be like entrenched in our mind that these are the 4 sadhanas shown by Adi Shankaracharya for mumukshus, for those who want to realize the ultimate reality, who want to realize the truth, who want to realize God, who want to realize themselves. Otherwise, the life goes on and one is dead at the end of it, and then reincarnation comes about. So if we don't want that to happen, we don't want the same cycles to keep repeating, these 4 sadhanas are the foundation for further evolution. In connection with this, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he has mentioned, he has propagated dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti. So that is the further development of the same sadhanas. These sadhanas here, this Nitya, Anitya, Vastu Viveka, then the Shamadhi, I keep pronouncing it wrong, Shamadhi, Shataka, Sampattihi, and Mumukshutvam. These are all part of Vairagya and Jnana. That's what they're part of. The dharma is implied in this already, and the bhakti is bhakti towards Paramatma. So that is emphasized by the devotional acharyas. Even Shankaracharya ji, as I mentioned several times before, has 80% devotional literature, and it is my opinion, as in just based on experience as well as more psychological studies also, that it is never good to damage bhakti. Bhakti should never ever be damaged under any circumstances, because if that gets damaged, even if one is a Siddha, even if one is a Brahmagnani, one has realized the Brahman, still Bhakti should be there. Even in that state. Why? Because there is the every chance of the individualized ego springing up again in very subtle form, and then taking hold of the scriptures and Brahma Vidya, and then the ego begins to function and play its game. So to prevent that from happening, Bhakti and Upasana under no circumstances are to be stopped or are to be hindered, because that is a protection. That Bhakti protects your realization in that sense, right? So these are some important points to keep in mind. Now, and then again, this is all each person's experience. I've come across people who say, no, at some point bhakti and everything has to be stopped and you're just by yourself. Okay, that is also true from a sadhana point of view. At some point, you are just in that consciousness. There's no you as individualized. But even Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he mentioned in the Vachanamrita, and he in his own life also, he continues to doing bhakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continuously doing bhakti. Every saint, every sage, even if they're considered incarnation of God, they are always doing bhakti. Even Sri Krishna Bhagwan was doing bhakti of the Chaturbhuj Narayan Swarup, and there's a temple of that actually in South India. Bhagwan Ram is doing bhakti of Shivji. Shivji is doing bhakti of Bhagwan Vishnu, or the Devi. Devi is doing bhakti of Shiva. Shiva is doing bhakti of Devi. Vishnu is doing bhakti of Lakshmi. Lakshmi ji is doing bhakti of Vishnu. Everybody is doing bhakti. That's the beauty of it. Everybody is in seva mode, in bhakti mode. Even those who are God, that is God is also. See the interesting thing. Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he said, "Who Santano Das," he said, "I am the sevak of the sages." And what he used to do, he used to put the dust of the saint's feet on his head. This kind of bhavna is if the highly enlightened beings are doing this, who are we? Hum kis jaat ki patti? We think we're running around with our ridiculous ego in this sansar. Nothing is nonsense. We have to learn so much from these great sages, that when they're at the highest level, there is no ego present over there. This is the biggest lesson that there is. And that, Sachin is talking about that. So many thousands of people have talked about the ego. Anybody can talk about it. But to be in that state is what we are looking for. Nirmana moha jitasanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sangne gachanti muda padamam avyayam tat. Bhagavad Gita chapter 15. So that padam, that state of realization, that is eternal, one doesn't come back into the flux of the sansar again, is extraordinary. But the point is to get to those stages. So much inner evolution is needed. Tremendous evolution is needed. So the feeling of service, seva, the feeling of devotion, being in a state of devotion, even at the highest levels of consciousness, has multiple meanings. One meaning is that it protects you from falling back. That's one thing. But it also serves as a guidepost for so many others who are trying to climb that ladder of spirituality. That look, we have a role model. We have somebody who is at that elevated state. So many gurus have been there and they are present today also. How they're living their life, how they're walking, sitting, drinking, talking, how they are interacting, teaching. What is their life like? And it doesn't have to be people sitting in temples and big ashrams and all that. It could be somebody ordinary, or people in the ordinary frame of life. They could also be completely enlightened. You don't have to have necessarily a particular religious affiliation and all that kind of. Enlightenment is for anybody who wants it. It's a matter of recognizing. In Gujarati language, it is called Olkhan. Olkhan in Satsang we say, in Swaminarayan Satsang we say, Olkhan means to recognition. Recognition of the state of the great sages, the great beings. Obviously, from a higher point of view, we can see the glory of God everywhere, in everything, in existence itself. So even when it's in verse number 20, when Shankaracharya ji is saying that Jagat Mithya, that just simply means that we do not get affixed or fixated on the three gunas of Maya. We see that they're there, but we also see that there is that which is beyond. So we see the ocean and not get stuck on the wave. That's all. When we go to the beach, think about this statement that I'm going to make now. How many people say we're just going to go see the waves? Have you ever heard anybody say that? When we go to any, like we have Rehoboth Beach here, we have Ocean City over here. There's this bunch of beaches from the East Coast. I don't think in my life I have heard anybody ever say, we're going to go to see the waves. No, we're going to the beach to see the ocean. And then we can say, oh, how beautiful are the waves. We always use the word ocean first and then the word waves. Is it not so? Look at our own language. Our own language is saying, because we want that experience of vastness. When we go to the beach, we're thinking about the ocean. We know that the waves are there. But we don't say, okay, I'm going to the beach to see only 20 waves. Have you heard anybody ever say that? No. That's the whole. So we can learn from very simple analogy like that. When we are going anywhere, literally anywhere in the sansar, we can say, I am going for the full experience of the Brahman. The Anubhav of the Brahman. And in that Anubhav of the Brahman, the three gunas of Maya are playing. Vishaya vanivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopesya param drushva nivartate. Bhagavad Gita. The internal attachment towards the experience of the three gunas dissipates when the infinite consciousness opens itself. That is the param drushva nivartate. So let's say, for example, you're going to a birthday party. You can realize God by going to a birthday party. It sounds silly. You have to set in your mind, I'm going there, everything is Brahman. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Hold this truth inside at the birthday party and see the Brahman everywhere. How do you see the vastness everywhere? That is a life force, consciousness, energy. You see the dynamic flow, the play of the three gunas of Maya. Seeing that the Jagat, the phenomenal world, is Mithya is a perception beyond the name, form, and the activity. It is the reality of the person, not simply the activity that we are lost in. So for example, if you go to a birthday party, and let's say it is a sweet 16 party, you see? But internally, if you're looking at it through the eyes of Shankaracharya, if Shankaracharya ji went to a sweet 16 party, what would he see? I don't think anybody's ever asked that question before. Maybe. I'd like to know if somebody asked that question. What if Adi Jagat Guru Shankaracharya ji, like based on all these verses, went to a sweet 16 birthday party? He says, I'm going there. What would he see? We cannot even imagine this question. We said, my God, we see Shankaracharya ji in the temples and Guru Parampara and mantras and satna and temples and all this. Okay, leave all that aside for a time. Picture Shankaracharya ji sitting at a birthday party singing happy birthday to you, happy birthday. Now, what is going through his, can you imagine Shankaracharya singing the happy birthday song? It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But it's not. That is the place to find God. If you cannot find God in a birthday party, you'll not find Him anywhere. That is the beauty of the sansar. The sansar is there, that is constantly teaching us the Brahma Vidya. Because the sansar is another form of the Brahman only. The waves are constantly showing us the nature of the ocean. Sorry about that. So there is a constant opportunity. Literally, we think about going to the temple. For example, in here we have a Mahalakshmi temple, we have a Sai Baba temple, we have two Swaminarayan temples. This is in Delaware only, right? Then we have a Raj Ganpati temple in South Jersey, nearby, about half an hour away. So when we say, okay, mandir mein ja rahe, very nice. Okay, we are taking a shower, put some tilak on, put some, take some money with us for archana, pujan. Beautiful, of course. That is a divine place, no question. I challenge anybody to have that feeling when you go to a birthday party. Do that. Then this Vivek Chudamani becomes real. Otherwise, otherwise we have segregated God. We said God is here but not here. How ridiculous. Of course, the temple is a beginning. It's certainly not the end. Where does it say in any of these scriptures? Show me one verse from the Gita, Vivek Chudamani, Vachanamrut, anywhere. Of course, mandir ka mahima hai, from a bhakti point of view. But the reality is everywhere. How can it be localized? If you go to a birthday party, what would Shankaracharya ji see? Now, I'll give you some of my thoughts. You think about it from your side. Just picture Shankaracharya ji sitting at a sweet 16 birthday party for a young for a girl. Now he's a brahmachari, so he's got niyams and all that, but somehow he's in a disguise and he's going there. What would he see? He would see the play of Maya. He would see how the sansar is very much cherishing the existence that is there. So that's there. But he would also see that the birthday is what? It is a reincarnation day. It is a reincarnation again and again, again and again. So if we go to a birthday party, obviously we have to have viveka. We're not going to say, well, you've been reincarnated, stop your reincarnation. I don't think anybody... that's going to be kind of silly to say that. But the internal vision is, yes, that is the play of Maya, the three gunas of Maya. To understand that, to express that, to see its power, and at the same time to see beyond it. To see beyond the realm of Maya in any situation is Brahma Vidya, is Brahma Jnana. You see? And if a truly enlightened sage is present, the presence speaks. The presence speaks. Not like us, that we're talking a lot. That's okay from us. It's okay for contemplation. Presence is everything. जब बड़े महापुरुष होते हैं ना, wherever they go, the atmosphere turns spiritual. The atmosphere turns divine. They are the ones who create the tirtha. Tirtha meaning what? The holy places are created by the sages because of their holiness and their sadhana. How do you think all these Dwadash Jyotirling and all the different temples, why they have reached that higher vibration? Because of the constant sadhana done there. And alignment with the stars and cosmos, and so many things are involved in that. The fact is, when an awakened being goes anywhere, the whole sansar it begins to resonate with that awakened being. Animals, birds, trees, plants, human beings, anywhere. Bhagwan Swaminarayan talked about 4 types of Mahapurush. 4 prakarna Mahapurush in Vartal number 4 Vachanamrut. It's amazing, what he has mentioned. And the 4th category, the highest category, is called Vadvanal Agni Java Purush. It means that the fire that is erupting, the volcanic fire that is erupting in the ocean, how can that be extinguished? It cannot be extinguished. In fact, that volcanic fire takes the salt water and turns it into fresh water. That is the highest stage of spiritual evolution, and those are the highest category of sages. They can go anywhere. They can be with anybody. They can do anything, in fact. And whatever they do, whoever they see, whatever situation they're in, they turn the distortions of Maya away from the whole of reality and turn it back into the Brahma Vidya, Brahma Jnana, into the fresh water. The salt water is what? It is the entrapment within Rajogun, Tamogun, the entanglements, the pain and suffering. Turn it around and that becomes Brahma Vidya, that becomes divine joy. See, there's a beautiful in Gujarati language in the Bhakta Chintamani, Kamadudha kalpataru parasa chintamani char santa saman eke nahi me manma karyo vichar. This is in Gujarati. Meaning what? Kamdudha, kalpataru, paras and chintamani. You know what these are? Kamdudha is a cow. It may be mythical cow, maybe historical. We don't know exactly. But it is a cow that whatever you wish, that cow will give you that. Kamadudha. Kalpataru. Kalpataru is a tree. You sit underneath that tree and whatever you wish, that comes to you. Kamadudha Kalpataru. Paras. Paras is a stone that turns, if you touch anything, it turns to gold. And then the 4th one is Chintamani. It's another stone that if you hold the Chintamani, whatever you wish, that comes to reality. You see, so there are possibly in the metaphysical realm, these kinds of objects are there. So this is called Kamadudha, Kalpataru, Paras, Chintamani Char, Sant Saman Eke Nahi, Me Manma Karyo Vichar. That means the true sages are beyond these 4 also. all of these are too small compared to the stage of this, because the sage is not functioning through the mental framework, the consciousness. God is functioning through them. If somebody gives us a chintamani, we're going to ask for worldly things. But the sages don't ask for anything except for the prasannata of Paramatma, of God, Bhagwan. They don't ask for anything. What a state. Even to imagine that is difficult. It's called Param Nishkam Bhakti. It's not easy to understand this, but it is not easy. It's that kind of evolution where sages are evolved to that level where they are so divine. They are living as nothing but an incense stick that is burning and giving the fragrance to the world, and the ash that is remaining there, that Bhagwan Shiv is putting on his head. Think about that. That is a sadhu. Sadhu ka definition hi wo hai. And that is the glory of the scriptures and the Sanatana Dharma, that it values, it promotes, it completely adores saintliness. Param Sadhuta. It is the one country or the one Sanskriti, I don't want to say country, but Sanskriti, that absolutely adores the highest levels of saintliness. And that is why India is called Sandhbhumi. There's thousands of problems in that country, as in any other place. No question. Those problems need to be solved. No question. But the solution to every human problem is sadhuta, saintliness. And that is exactly where all this verse number 20, I feel like I may not be able to come out of this verse. It's like we're drowning in that verse. It's where Nitya, Nitya Vastu, every line here, 19 and 20, these verses have everything embedded inside there. That when you have that tremendous saintliness, that is satyam, that leads to that satyam, that what is the reality? It shines. And when that reality shines, every type of internal disturbance is destroyed. And from that destruction, which J. Krishnamurti called creative destruction, from that destruction, there is a continuous blessing for the whole world. And then people begin to resonate with that. They also go through that, and the world becomes heaven on earth, as in Christianity. The whole idea is to bring heaven on earth. How is that going to happen? By realizing that the kingdom of heaven is within you, Jesus is teaching. Where is the kingdom of heaven? And where is God after all? You're going to find him through a Hubble space telescope? This endless number of galaxies there. You'll not find God that way. You'll just find more and more empty space and more galaxies. That's it. Because it's endless. You're going to find God inside your own heart. Ishvaraha sarvabhutanam Rudde Shreirjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad Gita. That Ishvara, that Atma Tattva, that Paramatma Tattva is present everywhere. And to realize that extraordinary life, it begins with tremendous clarity of mind, saintliness, all of this Viveka that is being discussed here, the desire for liberation. When we talk about Mumukshutvam, another way to think about Mumukshutvam is somebody who wants to be liberated. They want to be liberated from what? From all of the ignorance that exists, from all the pain, suffering, the doshas, antarshatru, which means to incorporate total sadhuta, purana sadhuta, purana shuddhata, purana divyata, puranamidam puranamada, puranat puranamudachate, puranasya puranamadaya, puranamevavashishate. This is the point. How beautiful. Kitni adbhut baat hai sab kuch. It is amrut, divya amrut. In Vachanamrut, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he said, Bhagwan ka jo dham hai, usko amrut dham bhi kehte hain. Ye sab amrut hi hai. This is all amrut. Every word is amrut. Every line, every idea is amrut. Okay, we'll spend the next, just start off today in verse number 21 and see where we can go with this. Just for a couple of minutes, we'll start it and then we'll continue tomorrow. So this is a translation here. Let me take a look at this. It's verse number 21. And then why is that? Okay, then 22 is down there. Okay, so the translation of verse number 21 is as follows. And these translations are not completely accurate, but we'll try to go into it slowly. The desire to give up all transient enjoyments gained through the senses, hearing, etc., and also experiences gained through equipments ranging from a mortal body to the form of Brahma is called detachment. ये बहुत बड़ी बात है. He is giving the definition of vairagya. What is vairagya? So, let's take a look at the word by word translation. Tat vairagyam. See, tat vairagyam jihasa ya darshan shravanadibhihi dehadi brahma paryante hi anitye bhoga vastyuni. This is the actual verse, okay? So you will see here he says vairagyam. That is vairagyam. What is vairagyam? He's giving the definition. What is vairagya? Again, remember, Bhagwan Swaminarayan extracted those 4 things: dharma, jnana, vairagya, and with that base as a protection for bhakti. So please keep this in mind, that idea of dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti is from a scripture called Vasudev Mahatmya. So that's where he extracted that from, saying that this is the most extraordinary scripture because it describes these 4 points. It has everything inside there. Here Shankaracharya ji is giving an unbelievable definition. It is the most profound definition and very powerful definition. Now why is this vairagya being talked about? If you go back again into the verse number 19, he's mentioned, this amruta phala bhoga viraga. So he's mentioned vairagya there. So he's using the word viraga, which also means the same thing as vairagya. It's very similar meaning. It's maybe there might be some slight difference in the meaning, but it's pretty much the same thing. I think virag is just more like a mental quality, that it's just internally just steady from inside. And then vairagya is, of course, that same mental quality, but vairagya is a state of evolution of the mind where one is, yes, that quality is there, viraga, but there is just the abiding in that total state of beyond raga and dvesha. It is an evolution, a transcendental evolution beyond raga and dvesha. So that is vairagya. And now his definition here in verse number 21 there's so much to be said about this. I'm going to go into it very quickly here just for the next couple of minutes, and then tomorrow, next 2-3 days, we will try to spend on this particular verse and to really probe into what is vairagya. Before I even talk about the verse, I want to make one thing clear. Vairagya has nothing to do with external garb. It could be any garb. It could be no garb. Some sadhus don't wear anything. They're called the Digambar Jain sadhus. And others might be like that too. They wear no clothes. Maybe they have vairagya, maybe they don't. We don't know. We cannot judge anybody. Some people are wearing exquisite clothing and all kinds of things, makeup and lipsticks and different perfumes and all that, and they could still have vairagya. So vairagya has nothing to do with the external garb. The external garb is, in many ways, is sadhana. So when somebody takes diksha in any sampradaya, even in the Christian tradition, people, they become monks like that. Somebody takes diksha. Diksha means initiation. It is a path to vairagya. And why is vairagya needed? To continuously connect with God. That is vairagya. I'll give you a simple example. If a person is working a minimum wage job, they're trying to save as much money as they can, after paying their expense. They have to stay within a small range. My God, it's hard to live like that. But once you have massive bank account through businesses and working and whatever, let's say there's like a $50 million bank account. Now that bank account is there, what happens? That now the foundation is there, solid foundation is there. You can roam around in the world and experience the world without deficiency, without problem, without worry, tension, fear, anything. Isn't it so? Similarly, vairagya is like a bank account. It's an energetic bank account. And we're going to go into this verse maybe tomorrow. It's an energetic bank account that once it is developed completely, one can continuously roam in bhakti. Adbhut baat. If you have $50 million, don't you think you could just go from one country to another, one trip to another, one place to another? You could just keep enjoying the material world again and again and again at different levels in different ways. You will not be able to use even $50 million like that easily. Even if you take first class tickets everywhere, first class everything, first class plane, first class train, first class clothing, first class home, first class everything, first class cruises. You keep doing that for a whole life. Still, you will not use $50 million. You might use 2 million, 3 million. Because it's a massive reservoir and you can enjoy the highest. This is a material example, material analogy. Similarly, when one has those 4 sadhanas, and particularly in this case vairagya, when you have vairagya and gnana are 2 sides of the same coin. We'll talk about that a little bit later as we move ahead in this. When we have vairagya, true vairagya, there is a tremendous foundation. This is our destination to just roam in bhakti. In fact, everything that is done through the senses, through the mind, through the indriyas, everything that is done is bhakti. It's not even a question of doing bhakti. It is roaming in bhakti. It is living in bhakti. It is abiding in bhakti. It is abiding in extreme divine emotion, divine love for God present everywhere. Just as the multimillionaire takes these trips all over the world, wherever he or she goes, never forgets that $50 million bank account. Because of that, usme ye jo kehte hain na paise ka bal, it's a power, a financial power. People, you feel that inside, I have this financial power. Isn't it so? Of course it is there. How can we deny that? That is there. That is there material-wise. Those who are spiritually awakened, they don't need $50 million. They may have very limited amount of money, but they are fully awakened from within. And because of that tremendous awakening from within, wherever they go, the sansar is blessed. Kya baat hai? That is the amazing reality of the great sages. That is their power. That there are sages who are sitting in literally small ashrams or small places. They don't have they don't even carry money. In Swaminarayan Sampradaya, the sadhus are not even allowed to touch money. I don't know if you know the niyams. I'll go through that some other time as we move into the Swaminarayan stuff a little bit later on. But sadhus are given strict niyams that it's called Panchvartman, and one of them is Nirlob Vartman. And if they touch cash, they have to wash their hands 25 times with dirt. Actually, they have to wash it 25 times. They're not allowed to touch cash, to possess cash. They have to eat in the wooden bowl. Strict niyams are there. Does it mean that if you just follow those niyams you have vairagya? No. But why are they there? वो क्या है? वो त्याग है. That is त्याग. Strict, very conservative, very strict. The intention of the original master is to awaken vairagya. You see, but they still follow those rules. But when vairagya, now you could have a great grahastha, great householder, multi-millionaire, can also have the same vairagya. Vairagya is an evolved vision from inside. And why is that necessary? For only one reason, and that is for continuous devotion and bhakti that doesn't have any break. There's no breakage in the devotion. What is breaking devotion is lack of vairagya. Think about it this way. What is preventing people who don't have $50 million, maybe they have 10, 20,000, 30, 40,000, how many trips they can take? They're restricted by the finance that they have in how much they can do in the material world. If you have more money, you can do more. Isn't it so? In the material world. If you want to dive into the ocean of bhakti and not come out of it, not break that, then full vairagya is absolutely necessary. It is called anivarya. Bhagwan Swaminarayan, Garada number 2 Vachanamrut. Tran Prakarna Vairagya. Amazing what is covered in Vachanamrut. Maharaj said inside there that the Uttam Kotinu Vairagya, and I'm going to cover that actually in connection to this sloka. I'll put the Gujarati Vachanamrut next couple of days in there, and we'll connect it beautifully, very nicely actually, with verse number 21, and how this verse of Adi Shankaracharya ji connects with the Garada number 2 Vachanamrut of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, and what the Bhagavad Gita also says about this, and what other sages have said. So a lot of fun stuff to come on this. And remember one thing, I just want to say one more thing. Vairagya doesn't mean psychological depression. Oh, vairagya ho gaya, sab sansar useless hai, retreat somewhere, you feel like everything is meaningless, you feel lack of energy. That is not vairagya. That is a psychological problem actually. That's a psychological escape. It is a misunderstanding of vairagya. Also people, with these big beards and sadhus with jatas and all those things, we have those images of vairagya. That is also not vairagya. That is a sadhana that they're doing. Whatever they're doing, okay. What is actually vairagya? We're going to look at that from many, many angles, and with the blessings of the Lord, blessings of God, and all the great sages. Hopefully that we will gain that realization ourselves. What is true vairagya in its real sense, not just conceptually. And when we have that, it is the billionaire. You are the billionaire from inside when you have vairagya. J. Krishnamurti said, the greater the outward show, the greater the internal poverty. We don't want to be poor internally. And we also don't want to be poor externally. That is why we have to be successful in the material world also, because they complement each other. But you cannot have one without the other as long as there is a human body. As long as there's a human body, there has to be the complementarity of the success in the material world and success in the spiritual life. No temple, no ashram, not even one mala bead of any kind. Nothing is purchased nothing is available unless there is an economic flow behind it, right? So it is another subject altogether, but it comes together. Bhukti and mukti, they go together. So if they go together in the exact balance, that is vairagya in the real sense. While we're living in the material world with the right relationship with it, without escaping from it, without getting trapped in it, that is called vairagya. And with that vairagya, the bhakti will be undisturbed. That is our goal. So we will continue this next time tomorrow.